Hi, and welcome to the ninth episode of Dev Show. My name is Sherry Liz, and I'm your host today, together with my good colleague Rasmus Jack. And today, as always, we prepared an 1 hour of show with one speaker, and it's all about empowering engineers. Which Rasmus is going to actually talk about it in a moment. And there is also one thing that you can always ask us your question in the chat, no matter that if you are watching us via Twitch or via YouTube, you can ask your question. And also, we will be really happy to know where you are watching us from. So please let us know. And there is one more thing, is that we want to have our show as inclusive as possible. So we really encourage you to familiarize yourself with our code of conduct, which, thank you, Rasmus, which is listed on our main show. And you all will get Azure Heroes Badger as well. I'm going to post it in the link, and at the end of the show, I'm going to talk about this Azure Heroes program as well. So Rasmus, can you tell us what is this topic, that how we want to empower the engineers?
Yeah, definitely. So Waqas, our speaker today, the session title is Empowering Engineers Through Self-Service Infrastructure as Code, and Waqas is working at Maersk. So this is also a session that is I'm really interested to hear, because as some might know, I work from Microsoft, but I work with Maersk solely. So this is a really interesting topic for me as well. So in this session, Waqas is going to share what is for modules and what Maersk call a stack, and then show some demos. One of them being developing and deploying infrastructure. So that's going to be really interesting to learn more about. And not to forget the speaker today. So let's also talk about who Waqas is. So as I said, Waqas is working for Maersk. He's a senior cloud software engineer, and he's been working with Microsoft technologies for about 10 years. And the last few years, he has turned his attention to cloud technology. He loves to write and test his code, and also like a test-driven development, he says. So that's really awesome. Outside of work, you also said, Waqas, that you spend your evenings on finding what's new in tech, or with your family. I'm glad to hear you're also spending time with your family, because you're living here in Denmark with your wife and 2 kids. And on the weekends, you also play chess with your oldest son. We just spoke about that before the show, He really likes that, and also play computer games. So you're a big fan of Hitman, PUBG, which I didn't know what was, and also The Witcher. Do you also like fishing and all the lazy stuff, which we can all familiarize well? And then you are a big Marvel fan. But the PUBG, maybe for everybody to understand what is that. And before of course, welcome to the Dev Show. But the PUBG.
So thank you for having me. PUBG means Player Unknown's Battleground. It's an online game where 100 people go in, and only one is left behind.
Oh, okay. So the last man standing. Okay.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah. So I imagine it's a shooting game where you need to shoot the others or hide just and not get found. Okay. Yes. Awesome, Waqas. I think we will not take more of the time here in the beginning. It's awesome to have you on the Dev Show, and just about to say, the stage is yours. So take it away. We look very forward to hear what you have to say.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, pleasure. So I'm going to show your screen right now, and I will remove ourselves. So see you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Rasmus and Shari. Thanks for having me on the show today. So I'm really excited today to be presenting here. And today's topic, as Rasmus said, that we are going to show you guys how at Maersk we have empowered the teams across the company so they can use the self-service infrastructure as code. Before I go deep into the things or the frameworks that we have built, thank you, Rasmus, for giving me this nice introduction about me. My name is Waqas Ali, and I am working as a senior cloud engineer at Maersk. You can reach me on Twitter or LinkedIn. Even after the show, if you have any questions about the stuff that I'm going to show you. Today's topic is about infrastructure and code. And before I go deep into that, today's agenda, I'm going to introduce you to how this the infrastructure looks like in the cloud, and what is actually infrastructure as code. So it's more about giving you guys some introduction to the topics beforehand, and then I'm going to deep dive into more of them and how we are using those things around in Maersk. And then I'm going to talk about why we need infrastructure as code, what is Terraform, and what are Terraform modules. There's something that we call a stack, what it is, and then there will be a demo of how we deploy this infrastructure using the tools that we have built, and then there will be some time for questions. So when we talk about the infrastructure as code in the cloud right now, things are very different. So you have a lot of components. You have virtual machines, you have web apps, databases, networking. You have to take care of upgrades. You have multiple environments. Everything you have in the cloud, you have to take care of it yourself, first of all. And then if you have multiple environments, you just replicate that in different environments. So if you talk about if you take any infrastructure app or any simple app, for example, I'll show you this one here. This is a very simple diagram that I got from Microsoft. It shows a simple web app where you can see there's function app running some databases, and then there's an app service plan. So this, imagine if you are to deploy this app in Azure, and you have to do it manually. So you will go ahead and do it, clicking around some buttons in the UI, and then of course you will deploy it. The problem is that it will be very slow. So if you have a lot of other environments to go for, you can multiply that with 2 or equal to the number of environments, and then there is a higher chance that you can make a lot of errors, or the biggest thing is that it's not recoverable. If something goes wrong, you don't have any. You have to redo everything again. And for me personally, it's very boring. Clicking buttons here, there. It's really boring for me. So what you can do for this to cope up with this is something that we call infrastructure as code. But before I go deep into that, one of the biggest things that why you need infrastructure as code and where it's really helpful is disaster recovery. If you are deploying manually your infrastructure, there is no disaster recovery, right? So something happens, you have to do it. You have to do everything from the scratch again. So, and this is where you can use the power of infrastructure as code. And this is something you do exactly the same. This time, you talk about infrastructure as code. You do it in the code. So you write some blocks of code which define your infrastructure, and then you can deploy it somewhere. I'll show you how, and this is really powerful, and this is it has much faster. It's consistent, and also if you have multiple environments, you can replicate your code, and in a matter of maybe minutes, if you don't have huge huge changes to make to your code, you can go ahead and deploy your infrastructure to different environments. So this means that this is really highly scalable also at the same time. And using the power of code and the tools that you know as a coder you have as a programmer, you can put all of this into let's say a version control system. So now your all of your infrastructure is also version control. So if you let's say if you want to add something to your infrastructure, you just add a VM in code, and then you can redeploy it, and then you can get that VM in the infrastructure. But now, since you're version controlling it, then you get all the benefits of the version control at the same time. So in this way, you know, you can really get a blueprint of your infrastructure that you can share, you can reuse, and that will give you all the flexibility that normally you get from writing applications in code. So this is a very short introduction of infrastructure as code. And when you talk about infrastructure as code, there's a lot of tools out there, and you can also go ahead and write some RM templates and deploy them to Azure. There's some other external tools also which you can use. And one of the tools that we used at Maersk was we are still using it. It's called Terraform. So in Terraform, it's by a company called HashiCorp, and you can use that tool to build and provision your infrastructure. And you can use their language, which is really human readable language. It's called HCL, like HashiCorp language. But you can also use JSON. I personally like JSON. But if you don't like the codes around JSON, you can use that. And you can see here from this small table here that Terraform, it is open source. And the infrastructures that you deploy from it's immutable. Once you deploy it, it's there. If you want to make a change to your infrastructure, you add something to it, add more code to it, and it will bump up the version, or maybe remove something from it. And there's this thing called client only. So you just install this client and write your code, and then it will deploy the infrastructure for you in whatever cloud system you're using. And when we talk about Terraform, there's some concepts that I would like you to know with. And the first concept here is called resources. And in Terraform, the resources are something like, you can call them an infrastructure objects, like compute instances or virtual networks. So these are the basic, very small basic building blocks, these resources. This is an example of a resource here in code. You can see here, that's how it looks like in code. And when we talk about resources, these resources come from someone, and it's called the providers. So if I can show you some providers, that here we have a list of providers from like AWS, Azure, and tons of other providers. And you can even come up with your own provider. And if I want to give you some details on the internet, let me take you to. So this is some cloud providers that are provided by. You can go ahead and read it here. And what I'm talking about is mostly about Azure. So all the Azure providers, all the Azure resources are under here. And so these are the providers. And why I'm talking about resources, because these resources, when you combine them, you get something called a module. And this module is just a container where you have multiple resources. And why do we, this module, it's because they wanted to make it reusable and shareable So that's why they came up with this module thing. And in the module, there the idea is that you make it in a way that it's reusable across your teams, your company. And so it becomes, in the end, it becomes like a blueprint of your infrastructure. And if you write the modules, you can write it yourself. It's very easy to write the modules yourself, or you can use modules from Terraform, because Terraform also provides some modules. And I'm going to quickly show you a module from Terraform, which is here. So these are the modules that are provided by or that are Azure RM related, I should say. And you can see there's all these modules here, and you can find them in this Terraform registry. If we take a look at this one, you can see that it has some all the information provided and how to use it and how you can utilize it. This is specific to so this module is specific to Azure and Terraform. I think Terraform wrote it, or maybe someone else wrote it, but I'm not sure who's the author of this module here. The idea is that you can do it yourself if you want. So in the modules, when you combine these resources, there's a structure to this module, and that is when you look at the module, it has some resources and it has some inputs, and it might not have some outputs, but it has some inputs which you have to provide for the module. So it has some input variables, some fields that you have to provide it. And to look at the code, I just took this example from Terraform HashiCorp, and you can see that this is the same. This is almost the same thing as the one here. These are the modules, and this is, you can read more about this module. You can go to see what kind of inputs it needs and what are the required inputs, what are the optional inputs. So now we take all this information, and now I'm going to explain how we are doing it. So what we did is we took the Terraform modules, or the Terraform technology, and we took infrastructure as code, and then we started to write our own modules. And then what happens is that when a module developer writes a module, it will they would talk to maybe an engineer, maybe the ops guys, maybe the security guys in the company, and then they will come up with a module which would be secure by design, and they will write that module with all the standards that we have and the EA principles. So this module, in the end, would be something that would be with high quality, and the idea would be that people should reuse it. So then we take this module and then we put it into our registry. When it goes into the registry, it's immutable. It lives there, and then you can just go ahead and grab it. If with this registry, what we did is we introduced something which is known as an inner sourcing model. It's like open source, but inside the company, so anybody can come in and take a module and maybe add or remove something and then put it back as a new version. These modules are semantically versioned, so you can just take it and upgrade it, or maybe add a new version and then put it back. So now you have another version of the same module, and then other people can also use it. So this is a very powerful thing that everybody is using, that you can go in and you can find almost a module for almost anything you need. If it's not there, you are more than welcome to create it and then put it there so other people can also use it. And then let's say you come in and you want to use one of the modules, you grab it, then consume it. You have to configure it first. Configure means you have to provide some values for the input variables. and then you deploy it, and then that can generate the value. So this is the module infrastructure that we have. So what happens is that when you have these modules, and you can of course go in and grab them, and then using Terraform you can deploy it, and that would still work, and you're still using infrastructure as code. But we went, we took an extra mile, and then we created another set of tools around it. And before I go into details about those tools, let me explain you about a concept that we have. So we call it a stack, and this means there's multiple modules. They're joined together, and it's basically a big module, right? It's a module itself. So it's a container where you have other modules, and then when we have that stack, you can take this stack and then apply it or configure it and deploy it, and then it will generate value. So, for example, if you remember in the start of the presentation, I showed you this architecture, a simple architecture diagram about a simple web app. So imagine if we call it an e-commerce app. So and then if we are to create a stack out of it, this would be my stack for my e-commerce app. So this whole thing is a stack, and then I will take that stack, and then I can put it in maybe in production environment. Maybe I'll also I will remove some of the things from this and then put it in the development environment. So maybe I don't need a lot of more things here, and then I put it in the test environment. So this is the concept of stack. So what we did is you take the stack, you build the stack first, and then you configure it. So normally you would configure the modules, but now you have to configure this whole chunk of modules, and then you go ahead and publish it. And once you publish this, we take care of a lot of things I'm going to show you in a minute. And then once you're done, it will create report. It will generate some code for you, and it will put everything somewhere. I'm going to show you in a minute. And then in Azure DevOps, by using Azure DevOps, it will just deploy your code, which was generated for you from the tool that we have. So I'm going to go to the demo here. Let me just quickly go to this one. So this is our tool we have. We call it Composer. This is our low-code, no-code initiative that we took. It helps you to put the pieces that you saw in the infrastructure and see them visually, and then create them visually. I'm not going to go to the rest of the UI stuff here because that's irrelevant. This Composer is where you would go in and create your infrastructure. You can say you can also design your infrastructure. So this is modules that we talked about. These are the modules that we have. These are being shared from the registry. So this means someone has made these modules, and anybody can reuse them. So I can pick any modules. There's a lot of modules here. And I can pick any module I want. And then let's pick up, I just got an app service plan, and then maybe I'll just get one more. So just search for the module you need and add it to the screen. So now you see here, this one box here, we call it a node. This node is a module. And this is actually an app service plan. So on the left side, see here, these are the input variables that you saw earlier. And these on the right side, these are the output variables. And what happens is that you have to configure you have to expose the variables yourself, ones that are required and the ones that you need. So you can expose them. Then later on, everything you are exposing here, you would have to configure it. So in this step, you just expose the variables which are needed. And one thing that if you have deployed in Azure earlier, you know that when you're deploying a web app, this web app is going to live in an app service plan. So it needs this app service plan ID. So what we can do is we can go in and take the output from this app service plan module and put it into the input of this module for web app. So Terraform is actually smart enough to know that it should create the app service plan first and then create the dependent module. So that's how we deal with the dependency between the modules. So that's how you can, I mean, this can get really complicated and you can add a lot of stuff to it. I'm not going to build all the stack here. I've already did that to save time. So if I can take you here, and here you can see this is my whole stack I built earlier. And here you can see I have an app service plan, which has some input variables have been exposed. I have a app, a functions app, and I have some key vault, some Redis cache, storage account, key vault secret, log analytics. So I mean, the sky is the limit. You can add anything you want. So just to give you an idea, and if there is a dependency here, this tool composer is generating the code in a way which is understood by Terraform. So Terraform will take care of the dependency. We just have to generate the code the right way, and Terraform can understand it. So being a person who cannot write code or who does not understand Terraform, or if you do understand Terraform, this is also helpful for you. If you don't, then we are doing almost everything for you here. So now you can create this here. Then if I can show you the code here, we are generating the code by all this nodes and the UI stuff you see. And you see here, this is the main TF file, and this is in JSON format. And here you have all the things needed for Terraform to deploy your infrastructure. And all this, you can even download it, change it, then deploy it, or you can use the tools to deploy this infrastructure. And then once you're happy with your infrastructure, the next step for you would be to go in. Now you have to configure it. If you remember, we talked about in modules, where you take a module from the registry, you configure and deploy it. So now we took the modules from the registry, we combined them, created our stack. Now let's say I want to put this in my for starters development environment. What I will do is I will go in. Again, the UI here is irrelevant. So what I wanted to show you is this pane here. So this blade here shows you so all the things that were added here, or the input variables that were exposed in this step, appear here, and now you have to provide the values. For example, size for your plan, or for the tier, for the name of the vault, and other things. And then once you are done adding the values here, you can save it, publish it. So when you publish stuff like this, we do a lot of things for you. We first of all, quickly, you see here, I deployed this, published this in development environment under this service, and you publish this, in this whatever environment you chose. Right now, I only have one environment. You can have as many as you want. When you publish this information, we do a lot of things for you. We create we create service principals for you. We give you the right permissions in the right subscriptions. We even go and put everything into a Azure DevOps repository, and even create branches for you. So everything is ready for you. There's a lot of things that are happening on the back end which you don't see here. So let's say that I've already published, so I'm not going to do it again. When you publish, I will just go in here and show you what happens. So I have published that already earlier to save time. So you can see here that when you publish, this is something. It's not, this folder structure is not Terraform related. This is something else. You see, we generate some files here, and these are Terraform specific files, and they are, you can see the code, we generate a lot of code which is understood by Terraform. And the next step for you would be to go out, and if you want to make a change to this, fine, you can do that if you know what you're doing. So people would, if you know Terraform, if you know how to make a change to this JSON code, people would go in and make the change. Otherwise, if you're happy, next step would be to go in and create a pull request to the master branch. So once your pull request is merged with all this code, we run this pipeline, and then the pipeline here. This pipeline is doing. This is actually Terraform is running in this pipeline. So what we do is in Terraform, when you deploy stuff, there's two stages. So one is the plan stage, and the other one is the apply stage. In the plan, it just goes in and it sees what you want to deploy. If you have already deployed, there is a state file that it checks against and just see how much changes you need. And Terraform keeps a state of the things that you have already deployed in the past, and then it goes in and checks against that state. If you don't have, if you have never deployed, then there is no state. But it has to run this plan thing and come back to you with all the outputs, with telling you, okay, this is the thing. These are the things that are going to happen. And after that, we run the apply stage. So the apply means in Terraform is that whatever you saw in the plan phase is going to become a reality. So normally this would be running in the in command prompt where you're running the Terraform. But now, since we are automating everything, so we are running it here. So once this is successful, I already ran it earlier today, and I actually deployed to the development environment. I just removed a lot of things from the app, and I just went ahead and deployed a simple, as simple as it gets, a web app, an app service plan, a web app, and a key vault. So if I can go to Azure DevOps, and so this is the place where this is my resource group, and these are the three things that I deployed earlier. So you see, from designing to designing your infrastructure, and then providing some values, and then creating a pull request, and then having your resources in Azure. This is as simple as it gets, right? So right now, what we did here is we just simplified the way you deploy stuff in Azure. So this means normally you could also use Terraform and then just use some modules, but now we have introduced this reusability factor. We have significantly decrease the time that you need for your infrastructure to get ready. So the time to infrastructure factor is decreased, along with other things like reusability. And at the same time, you are using secure and reliable modules. And you know that the module that you're picking up for your infrastructure has already been checked by the right people. So you don't have to wait for getting approvals and a lot of other things. And then when you're deploying stuff or when you're publishing stuff, we are doing a lot of things in Azure for you. We are giving you the right permissions in the right subscriptions. And so you don't have to, wait or do it manually yourself or wait from the owners of those subscriptions. But everything has been taken care here. And then before I talked about disaster recovery here, disaster recovery is built in. So imagine if something goes wrong here, you can come back online in a matter of minutes. So I can the code that you saw and the deployment, I did it in the development environment. If I need it in the test or maybe production, I would just go ahead and replicate that, create another pull request to my master. But this time I will not, in the UI, if you remember, I only had this, let me just show you here. So I only had this development environment here. Maybe I will add my environment here. Then I will go in and deploy the same stack in that environment. Maybe a test, maybe production. And then in a matter of maybe minutes, if not hours, or maybe a matter of a few hours, if I don't have all the information ready, I can be ready. My resources will be ready in Azure. So for these things that we built in Azure that I wanted to show you guys today. So now I'm open up for questions.
So thanks, Waqas. This was a huge inspiration on how you actually do it within Maersk. So there is Edison has a question here. So he's asking if the tool is Azure DevOps, and in here he's probably looking to the Admiral tool that you're using from within Maersk. So I almost answered the question for you, but please go ahead.
Yeah, this is something internal. This is our own tool. That is not Azure DevOps. That is something that we have built. That is our own Maersk-specific cloud tool. So that is not Azure DevOps, but that talks to Azure DevOps. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So there is there any way that I know there's put a lot of efforts into building this internal tool. So let's say that some in the audience didn't have the effort and didn't have a tool like Admiral. Would it then be possible to do this with the stacks and with Terraform and get started with the same empowerment that you are empowering your engineers in the same way, easier? And do you know that?
Yeah. So if you want to do it yourself, you can use the tools that Terraform is providing. So you can use the registry from Terraform. They also have a registry. You can use the modules there. You can pick up those modules yourself, and then you can maybe write your own or reuse the ones that they provide. And then you can use Terraform by writing Terraform commands in command prompt. And then you can do almost the same things. It's not going to be on the same level because there's a lot of things that are baked into the modules that we built. But if you are just doing it for fun, or if you're doing a small project, you can reuse the modules that you can I just showed you earlier in the Terraform website, and then you can maybe make a small program that talks to Azure DevOps, because to run the pipelines, you can find something in the marketplace about where you can run Terraform on Azure DevOps. So it is doable.
Yeah. Okay. So there was just a follow up here in terms of if it was DevOps and it was specifically related to the designer tool, which is embedded into Admiral. So is the designer tool in Admiral also something that you have customly built in Maersk, or is it something that is available to the public?
And that is actually something we built.
Okay.
In Maersk. So that is Maersk specific tool. Yeah. And I can tell you we build it with the Blazor. So I've been using Blazor. I've been one of the early adopters of Blazor, and luckily I found out that my colleagues in Maersk, they were also fond of Blazor. So this tool is actually written in Blazor, which I'm really happy about it.
That's great. And there is also, I asked actually from the audience that if they are using or they have used Terraform before. And there was a kind of a question that, not the question, the answer that they are learning it, actually one of the attendees. So do you have some recommendation for people that they are learning some resources? I know that you shared some resources that I am going to send as a follow-up email, but is there anything specific you want to add there for the people that they are learning Terraform right now?
Terraform is a great tool. You can find a lot of information on their website. When I started learning Terraform, when I looked at their website, I did not understand anything, to be honest. So I went to I just Googled around, and then I found out that the guys who made it, they made some nice videos on YouTube. You can find them, and those were helpful. So those gave me a good idea about how this tool works. And then in recent weeks, I also found out that Microsoft also came up with another tool. There's some guys in Microsoft. They were talking about a tool called Bicep, which is also a wannabe infrastructure deployment tool. So let's see.
Okay. Great.
We actually got one more question in here. Was that what you were about to say, Sherry, as well?
Yes,
so
exactly.
Morten is asking, have you considered open sourcing this tool? So I don't know if it's for you to answer, but we'll take a stab at it anyway, Waqas.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
No. So I thought so too, but anyway, it is a cool tool that you are providing to the organization, and even though you said it was irrelevant to talk about what is in Admiral anyway, but it could maybe be inspirational to the viewers and listeners here to know what else you are doing with that tool. Now that we have the time, you shouldn't say anything that is that you cannot share, but just if you overall could say what do you actually use this cloud tool for outside of stacks and modules here for the developers. So
so the Admiral is the tool that we have built in-house. That is basically our tool for taking the teams to the cloud. And we have a way internally to onboard different teams to the cloud. So it's a huge company, and there's a lot of different things going on. So Admiral is you can in simple words, it's like a tool you would use to put yourself in the cloud. That's the simplest definition I can give.
Yeah, it makes sense also from what I know from it. And Morten is not letting you go here. So asking about open sourcing it, maybe just part of it, the Blazor thing, connecting to the dots for Terraform. So it's maybe you cannot answer, but maybe it's worth taking back to the team and asking, would this be possible? Because there is a lot of interesting. I know that Maersk is, of course, putting a lot of effort and economics into building this tool, but it would maybe be possible to take back to the team.
Maybe not. You never know.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, you said that is a great tool, and then we know that when it's become open source, it can be greater. So
yeah. Yes, definitely. Let's see. I'll bring this discussion to my superiors. Let's see.
Yeah. And there is also a comment here. Rasmus is also talking about that the bicep language look a lot like Terraform. The difference is that the bicep compiles to the ARM template JSON format. Oh, okay, we like JSON. Yeah. Thank you, Rasmus.
I haven't used bicep myself yet, but yeah, I will try. I just saw the intro, and I will try it later. See how they've done it.
Yeah, and Martin is answering back.
Yep. So he's not saying that open source the whole business, but looks like there is some stuff that a lot of people could benefit from, and I would definitely agree that a lot of people could benefit from it. But it's just if it would be possible to open source anything.
Yeah.
But thanks for bringing it up, Morten. And now we have handed it over to Waqas, and he will talk to the superiors in his team about it, maybe.
Yeah.
So that's really good. So any other things that you would now you have already shared that you can go to YouTube and learn about Terraform if you're new. So any other things that you want to share with the audience here before closing out? I can also see we have one more question, but just if there's anything you want people to be aware of in terms of, is there any, you say you like to test your code, of course, when you're building it. Is there anything that they should be aware of when starting to use Terraform or continue to use Terraform? Have you made any challenges along the way?
Yeah, there were a lot of challenges when we were starting it. And the thing is that the way we were trying to do it, we couldn't find any examples and how to do stuff. So we just had to do it and learn by doing it. But when I'm standing here and I look back, I think Terraform is a great tool to go with and do all this. Of course, you can use other tools, but the things that Terraform provides you, maybe it's personal choice, but I think they're better. And when you're learning about Terraform, I think I don't like much videos, but I think watching videos is a good resource. And then if you really want to spend your time and effort, also look into how you can because now everything is being shifted towards GitHub Actions. So maybe it's worth looking into how you can do the same stuff with GitHub Actions and not doing it in Azure DevOps, because maybe Azure DevOps will go away in the upcoming years. Who knows? Maybe.
Who knows? Let's see what the roadmap brings here. So just following on that you say you have faced some challenges and also gained a lot of learnings on the journey to where you are today with Terraform. Is there any way that you are sharing, back to Morten's comment also, but sharing back to the community about this is what we have learned, this is what we have gained, you should avoid doing this or keep on doing this? Is there any platform or anywhere you share that with other people in the community?
So that's why I'm here today. So I wanted to give back something to the community.
I know.
And there would be more stuff in the coming months. So I have a plan to be more open about it and share the things that I've learned. So today is just, for me, it was a start for today. But I really want to give something back now to the community. So let's see.
Great.
Yeah, really appreciate it. I know everybody does. So Sherry, do you want to put Edison's question here?
Yeah, there was one question about the difference between, is it kind of a Terraform? Is it the competitor of Chef?
I don't really know.
Okay.
To be honest,
maybe...
So if any of that, I remember I used Chef and Vagrant, but I haven't used Terraform, so.
I haven't used Chef, so I can't say.
So, and yeah, I mean, Morten give you an idea that you can write a blog post on the Maersk developer blog post.
That's actually a very good idea. Yeah. Morten is coming with a very nice suggestions, I can see.
Yeah, and Morten is a huge community leader, right? So if you want good advices, then I'm sure he's open to help you get started even more. So, but we really appreciate you being on the Dev Show and starting to give back to the community here. It's really awesome, and thanks for the presentation and the openness about what you're doing in Maersk. We really appreciate that.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, definitely. And also just, Morten says in the chat, he's full of ideas. That's true. So, but to make this show even, I know this is everybody's show. This is the community show. So everybody listening in, this is your show. And also, as you said, Waqas, this was also the way that you got the idea to get on this show. So if you have feedback both for this particular session, but also to the show in general, if you have ideas to what we should put on the show, or you even want to be a speaker yourself, then please go to this feedback form, use the Twitter handle, or contact Sherry or myself directly. We are open to every feedback we can get, because we want to improve this show, of course, for everybody's sake.
Yes, exactly. And I also promised that you all are going to get a Azure Heroes Learner badge. So you can just scan this QR code, and because this is based on a blockchain, Ethereum to be precise, so all of your unique badges that you will get, you need to store it in a digital wallet. In our case, it's going to be an app called Engine, which is our partner. And you can customize this learner badge as well. When you can choose that which color of the shirt this badger is going to have. So, and if you want to know more about this program, you can read about it on aka.ms/Azure.heroes, because you can nominate yourself or your community friend for multiple different type of badges that we have there. And this is a program from Microsoft to say thank you for learning and using our product, or you're taking an extra mile to empowering others as well. And now all the Azure Heroes badges are on the map. If you go to azureheroes.community, you can actually, and you are the owner of one of these badges, you can connect that to this map, and then you can see all the different Azure Heroes around you as well. And of course, this is like an optional, and you connect it to one of your social media handles, such as, for example, Twitter or LinkedIn. And if you don't want it to be on this map for some reason, you can, of course, disconnect it. But go and check out that who are the Azure Heroes in your country. Upcoming event, Rasmus.
Maybe you need to talk about this because you're part of it, right? So that would be more genuine.
So we all kind of that wants to have be better and bring like the sustainability also to our hand as a developers, because we know that we should care about our planet. So this is one of my very favorite conferences, which is called GreenConf, that happens on 13th. And then there are a lot of talks that can kind of inspire you that how you can become better and do more as a developer and help our planet. So I really encourage you, and of course it's a free conference. You go to greenconf.io on 13th, and hopefully I will see you there. And should I go this one as well?
Do it. I'll take the next one.
So since September 30 is a really important day, so there's another happening there as well, which is all about serverless. And you can learn a lot of different topics on this conference, and there are also workshops as well. And this is also a free conference. You can go to ikea.ms/create serverless, and from security to you name it, there is actually it's a day of kind of a 4 hours full of different awesome topics. So go and check it out.
Nice. Yeah, and you shared this before. You have the Hacktoberfest on the 2nd of October. So that's going to contributing.today. And then you will also be able to watch all the interviews and be part of Hacktoberfest here. So is there any additional information they need to know about the Hacktoberfest here?
So one thing is that the event is going to kickstart on October 2nd. And from there, every Tuesday, just after the show, you can tune into another channel and then learn more about the different ways in the contributing to the open source, or find out how to create actually an inclusive and sustainable documentation for your project. So we have multiple different workshops and a lot of things happening during October just because of Hacktoberfest.
That's awesome. Yeah, and here in the Dev Show, of course, we are back Tuesday next week to talk about how you can adapt your PWA to the cloud or to the world of dual screen. So if you're into devices and want to know more about how you can use all the dual screen bendables and whatever is coming up, then watch this session next week with Kenneth. And also the week after, we have the big move to Azure. And how is the developers world going to be different by Magnus Mortensen, which is MVP from Sweden. So also a really interesting session to look into. And of course, we have a full lineup of sessions almost until New Year. So go to aka.ms/devshow and look at all the great sessions we can offer every Tuesday. In the future. And new speakers is coming every day, so that's awesome.
Yes, and the best way to contact us is on Twitter. Both of us have our DM open, so let us know, and I hope to see you all next week at the same time. Thank you.
Thanks, Waqas, for being at the show, and thanks all for listening in.